Welcome back, everyone. Heath Johnson here, welcoming you to the Heath Bar, the podcast that lets you get to know the artists, creators, and leaders of the Black Hills and surrounding areas. Each episode, I'll serve up a conversation with a different guest where I sit down with them over a drink of their choice and get to know the person behind the talent in a casual way, much like you would hanging out at your local watering hole. There's no scripts, no editing, no plans. So what you're about to hear is an authentic conversation as it happened. The guests that hang out here at the Heath Bar have some incredible stories to share, so if you're able to, grab a drink while I get ready to serve up another conversation for you. And I'm really excited about this week's conversation. It's going to be served up here soon, so let me take some time while that's happening to make sure that you subscribe to this show in your podcast weapon of choice. Whether it's iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever you use, click that subscribe button. It lets you know when your conversation is ready and fresh for you. Also, if you want to get in touch with me for any reason, whether it's something you thought about while listening to a show, maybe you have a critique or something you think could make the show better, you know someone you think should come on for an episode, or you just want to say hi, you can do all of that and more by emailing me at heath@heathbaronline.com. That's also a good place to email if you are looking for ways to help support this podcast. The cost to do this is not much, but it does cost a little bit. And what I've been looking at is, the cost of a pint a month that, we all spend at our local bars and local craft breweries or wherever it is that you like to go hang out and drink. $5 to $6 can keep this going, and I get some cool stuff for all of us here and make you a regular at the Heath Bar. I'm looking at some cool merch ideas that I'll be sending all you guys' way if we can make that happen. So if you're interested in supporting that and supporting this and keeping these conversations going, shoot me an email. Once again, that's heath@heathbaronline.com. All right, everyone, are you ready? Your conversation is, so let's get into it. Hank Harris is here this week. I first heard him play back before I started playing music. I didn't know him, but I loved his music. He had a really cool sound. I dig a lot of those older songs anyway, so it was awesome. And then later, several years later, I found him again playing a gig, and I kept requesting that he play Beatles songs, which in turn made him a fan of me. It's funny how life intertwines and takes us down some certain roads, isn't it? But Hank has been playing music around here in the Black Hills for over 40 years and might be most well known for his Deadwood Songbook volumes, where he presents the music of Deadwood throughout its history. There are 2 volumes, and you can find them online or at the Adams Museum in Deadwood, South Dakota. Hank has a way of seeing the world that comes out not only in his music, but in his photography. He's quite skilled in that, and it's very fascinating to see how those 2 aspects of his life are woven into each other. I've been wanting to have him on here since I started, and I'm really glad it was able to happen. So without further ado, here's Hank Harris. Welcome to the Heath Bar, where the conversations are always on tap.
I have 2 new CDs since I've seen you last, probably.
Yeah,
Maybe
I was
3.
listening to the latest one on Spotify today.
Oh,
It's got the white cover.
Tiny Person.
Yeah, Tiny Person. Yeah.
That's it's that just came out about 3 months ago, maybe less than that.
Okay.
Took a while to make. We finally got it done. Now we're putting some of it up, and just did a thing with South Dakota Public Broadcasting with Lori Walsh 2 weeks ago. We did a half hour.
On the In the Moment? Or,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we did that. And part of my brilliant marketing scheme is to, make CDs, push it for about a month or 2, and then leave for 3 months. I'm not very good at branding myself.
All right, I'm out. See y'all later.
I'm terrible at branding myself.
There were quite a few songs on that album, Tiny Person.
It's a
like
lot.
It's not an 8 or 10 track
It's almost
album.
an hour.
Yeah.
It's almost an hour.
Yeah.
It kind of, while I was doing that, when I was paralleling it with another CD I was making in Rapid City with my friends Shay and Chris Roman
Okay.
at their studio, Blackbird Studio,
Oh yeah.
of CD of cover songs. So
Oh.
so I was doing cover songs on one hand with them, and of course tearing them apart and dismantling them like I love to do.
I'm gonna make this my own.
Well, that's the idea. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
you have to. Yeah.
I mean, it's like Frank Sinatra wasn't writing his own songs. He
Right.
did manage to make them his own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that I'm comparing myself to Frank.
I don't know, Hank. The names rhyme.
Yeah, that's true. We got the first name rhyming thing. So while I was doing that, then I was commuting back and forth to California, different intervals to work with my friend Jimmy Goins out there. And then when he was in this part of the world, he's originally from Sioux Falls, we'd do some stuff at my studio.
Okay.
So the two kind of paralleled each other, but they were really kind of going totally different places.
What kind of cover songs was it? We just would...
Well, I'll get it for you, and I'll get you one. Anything from Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel
Oh wow.
to Can't Find My Way Home by Blind Faith to Girl Crush by Little Big Town.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I really
Check that out.
wanted to do a newer song with that
Okay.
because I found myself going back towards older things, and I said we should just do a new song. So I was listening to the car radio more, and I heard this song one day, and I went, "It's a nice song, good progression, good tune." And then I heard it was on a country station, and then when I got home, I looked it up and saw there was this whole controversy about Southern DJs having a little trouble with the gender.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that song. So it's funny. I don't know if it's just because it was put out on country music stations or what, but there was a big,
I know there was a big thing.
issue with it.
And it just seemed so silly to me because I listened to it. And I just said, that's just a good song.
Yeah,
And so
people, man.
I know. And
find a reason to complain about anything.
So once I saw that people were just struggling with their own basic hang-ups, I said, now I have to do it.
You're not honorary at all.
No. And plus, I mean, it's I don't know. I just think I thought it was a great song.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to do it.
That's cool.
So, all kinds of stuff on there. Oh, I did Could You Be Loved by Bob Marley, so it was all over the place.
Wow. And you say you were doing this as you were doing just doing them both at the same time, and hey, now we're going to work on this. Now I
tend to write
and...
more than one song at a time. I tend to read more than one book at a time.
Yeah, see, I usually have 2 or 3 books going at once. Songs are very different for me. Like if I'm going to put one together, I got to either finish it
focus
or
on that
it's going to sit, and I've got tons of unfinished stuff. It's just sitting there because I got distracted and lost it and stuff. But you've been writing for a long time though, because how long have you been playing? Like just what's the beginning of Hank's career look like?
Well, as far as any noticeable career besides the first few bands that you're in, would have been the Red Willow Band.
Okay.
And that would have been back in the mid-'70s.
All right.
And that's started writing shortly after that, so I've been writing about 40 years.
Oof.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you gotta have a pretty good arsenal by the 40 years of writing. There's a
lot of
list.
stuff. Oh, there's years when I would write 30 or 40 songs, and there were years when I'd write 10.
Okay, gotcha.
But I mean, if you were to average it out, there's I don't know. Not to mention all the partial songs and the songs that you finish that actually don't get presented to people.
Sure.
But I'd guess there's 700, 800, maybe 1,000.
Have you ever taken a song and you finished it, and then like years later you went back and you liked something from that song, so you started a whole new song and kind of tore that song apart and made a whole new one, and that old song is just gone now? Like I don't know.
Well, it's like a lot of times the songs that you're writing become pieces and parts that may be used for one song that really works well. So it's an arsenal. It's building blocks. You build up these little building blocks, and it's I've got this little thing that might work with this little thing over here.
Huh.
And then you can change them around. You can push the blocks around and see if you can get them to work. Little Rubik's Cube thing.
So what got you started into just wanting to write your own stuff? Because everyone usually starts playing with covers and stuff like that, and then
and when you first start to, you're learning how to play yourself, but you're also, as you're young, you're trying to sound like whoever it is you admire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you try to find ways to hopefully start to think about finding your own voice.
Okay.
And not looking at it that way. But in the Red Willow Band, we were pretty successful right away. And we had pretty good management that pushed us around a lot. We ended up opening up for a lot of different people. Our list of people that we opened up for, Pure Prairie League, Jerry Jeff Walker, Delbert McClinton, Vassar Clemens Band we played with quite a bit.
Are you kidding me? Unbelievable.
The Amazing Rhythm Aces ended up kind of being friends of ours. We played with them several times. And they were very encouraging to us, which they didn't have to be. Mm-hmm. But they just said, you guys are really good, but you need to write your own songs.
Oh, sure.
And then they said, it's like, that's what you need to do. And so Chris and I, the other guitar player in the band and piano player, we decided, well, we better write some songs.
Let's just start doing it.
So,
was it difficult, like starting out?
I don't remember.
Oh. Okay.
I just remember saying, okay, I can do this.
Gotcha.
I can do this. And I don't know. I just started. And then once I started, it was just fun. And I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And then you start to learn, how to try to find some way of looking at a problem. Basically, writing a song is solving problems. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do I do this? And how do I do this and make it sound kind of like this genre that we're approaching, which was a kind of a country rock sort of thing. Uh-huh. We were also way into Western swing and bluegrass, too.
Okay.
And rock and roll, for that matter, everything. We liked it all. It was good. And just trying to find a way to write in that particular vein. And then I started writing other things that weren't in that particular vein. And but I was aiming mostly towards the band and thinking in terms of that. And then once I left the Red Willow Band, then I just reverted back to the way I listened to music when I was a kid, which was back then anyway, listening to the radio and albums and 45s. Mm-hmm. And then I just let it go. And then I just started allowing myself to write anything that came out.
Just anything, like whatever popped out of your head, you put it down and made it a song.
We tried.
Oh man,
tried.
Well, did you find any? When you were doing that? Did you find any type of like thread that kind of bound the songs together in a genre, whatever you want to call it, or was it just, hey, this song and these three songs don't sound anything like you wouldn't be able to tell they came from the same person if someone put them up on a table or something like that? That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, I wanted that.
Oh, okay.
I wanted that. I was trying to be, I don't know, songwriting, and maybe you've run into this a few times. It's like when you get into it, sometimes it's like you're not even sure if it's you.
Yeah.
You're trying to open your brain, your mind, your heart, your soul, all those nebulous words, to accept what comes and allow what comes. Mm-hmm. And see what's inside you. Mm-hmm. Or just pay close attention, and if somebody at a diner has some good line, you just go, that's a good line. I'm going to use that.
I listened. I heard something yesterday that I thought was a really cool line, and what was it? It said, it was a question that was asked someone. It said, "You're waiting here for tomorrow's train," and I was like, "Oh, I kind of got this idea of just killing time." Waiting for something, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of a cool line." But
well, you could take that a lot of different places too.
You could, yeah, absolutely.
How much are you looking to do in the time before that train gets there?
Right. Are you anxious to leave, or are you trying to fill up space, or are you? Yeah, there was a lot of ways to take it. I was like, "Oh, that sounds good," and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but
and you found the same thing out too. You either need to carry a little microcassette player of some sort. Mm-hmm. Or pencil and paper, because when you get those ideas and you get those lines, mm-hmm. or the sequence of notes or sequence of chord progression, you better get it down.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that's going to be it,
Right.
but get that original germ of an idea so you have some place to start.
Oh, it's so easy to forget too.
Oh, I know.
You always tell yourself, "Oh, I'll remember that. It's so awesome," and then you get home and you're like, "Wait,
well, wait a minute. That was probably a C, a C, D, G, maybe an F. But how did it go? Right.
Have you always lived around South Dakota, or is it
No,
kind of okay?
I arrived in South Dakota when I was about 20 or so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was like a born and raised type thing for you, and
But I've been here a long time. My dad was Air Force.
okay, gotcha.
So I traveled 3 years here, 3 years there, up until I arrived in South Dakota. And
Gotcha.
once I got to South Dakota, I liked it.
Yeah, it does that to you. I came here over almost
And
10
that was
years ago.
originally in Vermilion where I
Oh,
ended up
okay.
first.
Gotcha. Did you? Was he stationed overseas at all? Did you ever live overseas for a while?
I lived, when I was about 11, 14, 15 in Guatemala City in Central America.
Do you remember much of it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember like
I loved it.
really?
Absolutely. And I've been back there since, and I still love it.
Wow.
I love Central America and South. I like to travel.
Okay.
In fact, when I was telling you, I try to get to where now I play about 9 months a year and just try to pack as much as I can in that time. Then in the winter, I like to travel and just go see what's going on.
You
out
go
there.
places warm.
Well, sometimes, like in November, I'm going out to spend a month off the coast of Washington at a place called Orcas Island.
Wow.
And I've been there before and visited friends, and I just love this place. In fact, I don't even want to talk about it because I don't even want people to go there.
Nobody go. That's Hank's place.
No, I wish it was my place. But it's an interesting place, and it's about 20 miles off the coast.
Okay.
It's the San Juan Islands. You get there by a ferry boat the size of a football field. So you've got your car, so you can travel around.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 57 square miles, shaped like a big horseshoe. Just beautiful. It's about 100 miles from Seattle, but Seattle's about 120 inches of rain a year. In the San Juan Islands, where this is located, it's what's called a rain shadow. So it's about 30 or 40 inches a year.
No kidding.
So you don't get that same thing. Plus, it doesn't get that cold in the winter.
Check that out.
And 45 mile an hour speed limit, hitchhiking encouraged, 15 organic farms, and they have not allowed a fast food chain on the island.
Not yet. Hopefully never, right?
Hopefully. I mean, it's an interesting place.
Yeah.
I really like it. And I've spent time with friends there before, and I just wanted to go there and hang out for a month or so and not necessarily have them take care of me. Just find a place and just hang out and feel what the island and the people were more like.
Yeah.
A lot of really good musicians.
Yeah,
So-
I was going to ask you that. So when you go to different places, like there's obviously different areas have different levels of influence, and with the internet now, I mean, you can be influenced from anything anymore, but it's cool how different places still have their own pockets of, hey, that's a New Orleans sound. Or
I'm
that's,
curious to see that because I remember when I was there, the radio station I listened to when I was there, I was picking up a Canadian station playing Canadian folk songs in French.
What?
So
That's sweet.
It was this is like really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I always thought that was really neat. Like before everything kind of became centralized, where you could information's at the tip of a hat, and just how different things developed their own sound and their own just from where they were located and where they what influenced them at the time. So I thought that was really cool. So like in Guatemala City, like music there.
Oh, I mean, okay, the national instrument was the marimba.
I don't even know if I could point that out on a table, Hank.
Well, it's like a xylophone except it's made of
Oh,
wood.
okay. Gotcha. That's the national instrument.
It's a national instrument.
Can everyone play it? Like, is it just kind of a?
Well, it's not a small instrument. It's not something you carry in your pocket.
Yeah.
But so that was different, and then just the Guatemalan folk songs, and that's where I first picked up a guitar. My dad got me a guitar in Costa Rica and brought it back to me.
Wow.
He was what was called the air attaché or assistant air attaché to Central America for the United States Air Force. So he had an embassy plane. He worked with the embassy. There was no base there, which was great. So you weren't on base. You were living with the people,
Yeah.
the Guatemalan people, who I liked. And so he would take that plane and go do the diplomatic stuff he needed to do at all the capitals. So he picked us, me and my brother, up cheap classical guitars on a trip to Costa Rica. And my brother wasn't interested, and I was. And so those were the only lessons I ever took, too.
Just picking on it yourself and...
Well, I picked it up myself, and I wanted to play.
Uh-huh.
I was a really shy kid, so most of my playing was in my room with the door closed.
Sure.
But Mr. Rodriguez would come by once a week,
Huh.
dressed in coat and tie. He didn't speak a ton of English. I didn't speak a ton of Spanish at that time. But we communicated, and he was a sweetheart. And he showed me Malagueña, Managua, Nicaragua, which was a folk song, some other folk songs. And then he was very smart. He took my records home and learned songs off the records and came back and taught me what I liked.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Every guitar teacher that I've talked to, they said that's the way to do it. Like if people like a song and all of a sudden they learn how to play a song, they're hooked way more than just here's the scales.
If you make them
this,
just do scales and stuff they hate, it can ruin people. I've heard so many stories of kids and their piano teachers when they were young.
Yeah. I mean, I don't play piano, and I took lessons. And I took lessons in guitar when I was 14, 13 years old for like a month. Mm-hmm. And it was the whole scale thing, and I just couldn't get it. And it took through college till I finally just, you know what, I'm going to learn these chords and learn these songs that I like. And then from there, I just kept going. But yeah.
But I would, he instilled a little bit of discipline in me and showed me some things I never would have learned.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, when I took it from there, it was like when I would practice or play, I don't think if I even looked at it as practice then. It was just something I liked to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully still now too.
Yeah.
But I would work on the things that I needed to work on that I wasn't good on.
Mm-hmm.
Make myself do that for the bulk of my session.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would allow myself mess around time to just explore.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's like it doesn't do you any good practicing the things that you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Practice things you're bad at.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's always a tough thing because you sit down and you're like, I just want to jam, I want to have fun, but then you don't really improve. You just keep playing the songs you know.
I just read Paul Simon's biography, and just his approach, which I felt was really smart, and it's played out over the years, is that would have been the 60s, early 70s when Simon and Garfunkel would have had their heyday.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great writers in that time period.
Yeah.
And did they keep improving? Did they keep doing new things? Did they keep making themselves look into new kinds of music? Not a lot of them did.
Yeah.
Paul made himself look at classical music. He broke off one of the most... He was like breaking up the Beatles, breaking up Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, yeah.
But he knew that what he was writing, he would not be able to pursue that completely with that. So he made himself do that. Got interested in the African thing, got interested in the Brazilian thing, and the South American thing, and the Peruvian thing, classical music, Broadway. He just made himself keep doing new things, and I just think it's important.
Well, I mean, constant improvement. It's the, being a lifelong student, realizing that.
A lifelong learner and student is it, too, because, it's real easy to rewrite the same song a lot.
Yeah. I mean.
And it's like, when you've come up with something different and something new, at least for yourself, or that little imprint of chord progression that you have in yourself.
Right.
It's like if you keep pushing yourself to learn something new, then you can change those progressions and then you can keep learning, hopefully.
Yeah, that's always been, I don't know, because it is easy to get stuck in that rut, and it is easy to all of a sudden find something new and then think, oh man, I really like this. But this sounds weird compared to what everyone else thinks. So then what do you do with it,
Well, then you have to make your decision. It's like, are you writing this for other people or are you writing this for you?
Yeah. Where's that confidence come from for being able to share something that I wrote that's a little bit different?
Yeah.
And I'm going to put it out there, and even if nobody likes it, hey, this came from
It's
me.
part of the process. It's part of the learning process.
Yeah.
You know, to me, I just I just don't think it's a good idea to stop.
Yeah.
And we both know a lot of people that stop fairly early in their lives.
Yeah.
And they just kind of set it on cruise control, and I'm like, it doesn't interest me.
Yeah. Have you so when you talk about that, like progressing and everything like that, do you remember like the first songs that you wrote and put out? And then what do you think has been the biggest just progression from them to the ones you're putting out now that you've seen growth in yourself, I guess?
Well, I think it's bumping into different kinds of music, different musicians, being in different bands that, okay, I got to learn how to do this now. I've got to be a lead guitar player on electric guitar here.
Yeah.
And this one I just play acoustic guitar. And this one I'm a singer and harmony guy or whatever that might be. So you're learning from people. You're learning from everything.
Yeah.
I learned from the drive over here today or talking to you or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, ideas come from everywhere. And I just think
Yeah, well,
you're better off to just approach this as a 24-hour-a-day thing where you're always kind of being alert.
Yeah. And just not letting things pass. Like that was one of the things like I've recently been paying more attention to in my life is not letting moments just that means nothing. Like it means something. You know, everything you see is an opportunity to develop yourself more. You know, if you look at it and accept it that way. You know, if you have a viewpoint that doesn't see the world that way, then how many opportunities are you missing out on to better yourself and better those around you and just improve as a person, you know?
Right.
Musician or
right.
not, you know,
and that's,
it's just,
you know, that's the deal. It's like if you're improving as a person, your songs will get better.
yeah.
And
Your thoughts go a little bit deeper, you know, you're not just putting the straight-laced, obvious lyrics, you know, you can kind of...
Well, you know, when I first started writing, and it was the, you know, it was kind of the Jerry Jeff era, you know, and Pure Prairie League and those kinds of bands. And it was like, it was about drinking and it was about partying and some girl.
Right.
You know? And it's just like, after a while, you need to start writing about something different besides girls and cars.
Yeah.
But also, it's just like you have to push yourself beyond a certain thing and not necessarily... Some people write, and I know plenty of people that write that if they didn't think they could sell it and if they didn't think they could use it on stage, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. It
And
goes nowhere.
I'm like, no, it's all building blocks. It's all learning process. It's all trying to move forward.
I forget who I was talking to. Must have been a month or two ago. We were talking about, you know, just kind of the big machine of music and the radio. They're looking for a very specific style.
It's changed an awful lot since when I was young.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And then the songwriters changed how they wrote songs to try to get songs on the radio. And it just made me wonder, like, how much creativity was stifled, or is still stifled, because you're trying to write a hit. You're trying to write in this style. So you don't write the stuff that you would if you were just free to do whatever you wanted to do. You know what I mean?
I do. For the most part, I don't listen to music much anymore. Because I know... I do for some inspiration, and I do sometimes, but mostly I'm afraid I'm going to end up stealing from that subliminally.
Ah, okay.
So I try to just keep it fresh, but also I do like to poke around on YouTube and find stuff I've never heard before. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that can lead to something, you know, that you would go, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
But also looking at, you know, the book you're reading as seeing how people write.
Yeah. Yeah.
About 2 months ago, the Rapid City Public Library asked me to do a 4-week songwriter workshop.
Oh, sweet.
And it was like, I said, sure, you know, this was 5 months before. And then I got closer and closer to it. And I went, you know, I've never sat down and examined how I do this.
You just, here it is.
I just go. And sometimes it's words first. Sometimes it's music first. Sometimes it's playing an instrument I don't know how to play well, because sometimes something new will come out that, you know. So that was what I thought was going to be fairly easy, was kind of like a little I felt anxiety because it was like, what am I going to tell people? Because there's no one way to write a song.
Right. Here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, you know,
So
and it's not how it works.
I tried to just get people to think in terms of, it's like, just explore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, examine why you're doing this. Are you doing this for you? Are you doing this to sell this? Are you doing this to play with your granddaughter?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing this to share with your girlfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Play for a few friends at a party, or get up on a stage in front of people? It's like, why are you doing this? And then you need to figure out the way you write. I can tell you about chord progressions. I can tell you about bridges and choruses and ways to link those things.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, it's about solving problems.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cool thing is everyone's got a different path in that. You know, with the South Dakota songwriters and meeting all the different people that write just around here,
Mm-hmm.
like every single one of us is writing very different stuff,
Right.
and that's good, you know. And it's funny to me when people are like, here's the rhythm, or you can take 5 songs off the radio and they overlap them and they're the exact same.
We've seen that meme.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so many times when I do listen to the radio, I'm just like, I just feel like it's cookie cutters junk.
That was a really deep sigh, Hank.
It was sad.
You look so disappointed right now.
I was disappointed.
Oh, man.
I just, it's just really we've dropped it to the lowest common denominator.
Well, when it becomes about profit, I think you lose creativity. You absolutely lose creativity.
And like you say, things have changed. When I was young, you could have the Ode to Billy Joe and All You Need Is Love on the same station.
Right. Yeah.
You can't have that now.
No, and that's the thing. It's like not that there's anything wrong with writing and playing music for a living and making a living off of it. That's totally fine. But like when it becomes a, I guess, conglomerate of, this type of thing, then I don't know. I think you lose the whole point of what songwriting and music is about.
Well, you take it back to the first thing. It's about telling a story.
Yeah. Yeah. And just let that happen.
And then you realize, well, this particular story is a little different, but it's a little similar to a lot of different stories that have been told. And it's like, how do I look at this from a different angle? Yeah. It's like you see my pictures online. It's like, how do I take a picture of that isn't the same picture that everybody else has taken?
Right.
What is that angle? What is that light? What is that thing that's going to make that a little bit different?
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you about that too, because I've seen, your photography you've been doing it quite a while. And
I went to BH here as an art and photography major.
Okay, gotcha.
Never got a degree. But.
Gotcha. Do you find, like, in taking pictures that translates into music at some point for you?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it's composing a composition.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a slant. It's a point of view. So one in a pictures, it's what you see that day, but you might be looking at it and going, okay, this could be a really good shot, but I need to be here at about 6:30 in the morning on a day that has some clouds.
Yeah.
And I need to get some different angle that isn't just this, me standing up doing this. And it's interesting. It's fun. And I do find that both the photography and the music inform each other.
Yeah. Have you ever put a song together? Does it go backwards or the other way, where you put a song together and that kind of inspires you to go out and take a picture of something because the song this has this feel of it, and I'd like to get a visual representation of that song?
Well, I actually want to start doing that more, because I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I just put up a video that I made of my photography with a new song.
I haven't seen
Tiny
it.
Person.
Okay.
And it was like, this is interesting. Now I have to start thinking in terms of when I go out and take pictures, I need to match the song somehow.
Yeah.
So I think I look forward to doing some of that. I think it'll be fun.
That's really cool. And how long have you been taking pictures too? Is it?
It's something I've done all my life.
Just kind of always done it.
I got a little more serious when I was taking photography courses here at Black Hills State University.
Okay.
And then I gave up on it for a while because it was still film. And I loved the whole darkroom thing. That was really great fun. And I liked learning about that. I don't know how good a photographer I was then, but I was learning. And then I kind of gave up for a while because it was just so expensive. Yeah. I was a poor musician, and I wanted to have 2 copies of each one. So each time I got 24 pictures, it cost me $13 or something.
Yeah.
Which 20 years ago was like
it's pretty substantial.
Yeah. And it was like, and then you'd get that thing, and there would be 2 good pictures in there. And I just went, ugh. So I remember one trip I took to California.
Because you couldn't look back and see if you liked that before you print. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, you couldn't. You just, it was just a little Canon A1 or something like that.
So when I was growing up, we had the disposable cameras.
Yeah.
We'd take them all to camps and everything like that.
Yeah.
And you'd snap a bunch of photos and then you'd get them all back and like none of them were good. But, whatever.
Right. But luckily it was, yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So one of those trips I took, I just kind of kept track of how much I spent on film and developing, and also kept track of how much money I spent on gasoline. And it cost me more to do the film than the gasoline to go 3,200 miles to California.
Oh, my goodness.
And I just kind of went, so I just quit on it for a while. And then I met some younger people who were doing digital. And I hadn't done digital before. I said, well, what do I do? Where do I start? He said, go get an $89 power shot and just see what it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like ready to not like it.
Oh, okay.
I was
just because
like,
it was something new.
Oh, it's not the purity or whatever,
Were you being the old guy in the crowd this isn't how we did it?
I was going, hey, you kids, get off my line. It took me about 4 pictures to take and see that, I don't like this picture. I delete it. But I can see that the lighting is a little funky, and if I do this, I can make it right.
Okay.
And I saw very quickly what an incredible tool it was.
Yeah.
And plus, I was just doing it to the computer, loading it onto the computer, and then playing with a little program with it for darkness and hue and saturation, sharpness, those kind of things. At first, I overdid it on those like we usually do.
Oh, yeah.
And then I realized, no, try to get it to be what you actually remember it was.
Subtlety,
like.
Hank,
Subtlety, exactly. But once I started doing that, it was just like, oh, God, this is free.
Yeah.
Once you buy the camera, it's free.
It's all just time. Yeah.
And so I ended up doing, and I used to just love, and I still do it. I did it on Tuesday. I went down to, it was that beautiful day, first beautiful day we'd had in a while.
Yeah, that's true.
And I just went down to Custer State Park and Wind Cave and drove around those back roads and looked for pictures. Once again, it's like looking for songs. You don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Something I saw there that day that I'd never seen before was owls. Owls sitting on top of prairie dog homes. And I'm wondering if they're symbiotic somehow. I didn't know. I thought I was taking a picture of a prairie dog, and I looked at the camera and I went, it's not a prairie dog, it's an owl.
Maybe they're waiting for their lunch to pop out of the hole.
I don't know what it was, but it was...
That's really brave. They're not even hiding it at this point. We're here to eat you. We're just going to wait right by your door.
Well, they were small. The owls were really small.
Okay.
So they were the same size as the prairie dogs. So I'm wondering if there isn't some sort of thing in the hole, because I know some owls live underground.
Oh,
and
that's
where they
that's
have
right.
their nest.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, whoa, this is great. But you're there with your camera, and you're able to kind of explore that and do that. And of course...
Yeah.
This time of year, out in the state park, it's like I didn't see another car for 4 hours. And it was a beautiful day. It felt so good. The sun was great.
Yeah.
Beautiful breeze. Buffalo, I found them all over the place.
Oh, that's cool.
And just some of the simplest things. If you can just get, once again, it's the light you're looking for.
Yeah.
Just a picture of a open field in South Dakota with great clouds can be something.
Oh, it can be miraculous.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's like music, where you've got ones that you publish and post, and then there's just a mountain of
In fact, I need, every once in a while, I need to look at my computer and go, oh, I'm getting close to empty here. I have to go back through a lot of these pictures and delete a bunch of them.
Yeah. Do you ever find that, like, just maybe, I don't know if some people do it with their music or not too, but for pictures are that kind of way with me where you just take a bunch of them and you're like, oh, I'm going to go back through these and pick out a few. And then I just never do it. And I have like 20 photos of the same shot.
I think it's different for you probably. You have girls, right?
Yeah.
You have family.
Yeah, I don't usually ever delete those.
And you got dogs and you got cats.
Yeah.
And you got a job.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm cheating, I don't have any of those things. So
this is what you do.
So for me, it's very exciting to get back from a day of driving around.
Sure.
In the Black Hills or Custer State Park or the Badlands or wherever it might be. Orcas Island coming up. That'll be fun.
This is going to be great.
And the drive out there. It's like, so I look forward to getting home and sitting down for 2 or 2.5 hours and going through them and seeing if there's anything there. And a lot of times there is, and a lot of times there isn't.
Yeah. And either way, it doesn't feel like a wasted day. Yeah, you're
I was out there.
Had a good time, enjoyed myself. And yeah, I just need to get to Hank status and be able to do that with my life and just drive around and enjoy myself. That's the dream, Hank. That's the dream.
For some people, maybe.
But a lot of that's from playing pretty solidly for 9 months, like just going and going and going, right?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, still, we usually have those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays off.
Right.
And I don't know. I find that the process the last several years of going away for winter. Mm-hmm. Last winter, I went back home to Florida, where I'm originally from. Okay. And I traveled around the state and stayed with my cousins in the old house that my grandfather bought in 1926 in Winter Park, Florida. And it's the oldest house in Winter Park, built in 1877.
Still in the family.
Interesting place.
That's cool.
And it was cold last year down there, and it wasn't very well heated. But it was great, and so I did that a while, and then my cousins had a houseboat that they had at the Titusville Municipal Marina, which is right next to the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge, which is right next to Cape Canaveral. Okay. Because it's next to Cape Canaveral, you've got a stretch of the Atlantic coast there, 12, 14 miles long, with no houses on it for security.
That's cool.
There's not many places like that left on the East Coast. Yeah. So my job there was to sleep on the houseboat at night, gently rocking, get up about 6 in the morning, drive over to the beach, take pictures, walk the beach for about 4 or 5 hours, and
I don't know, Hank. This sounds really rough.
It was terrible.
It was just the worst.
and I really, it's like I didn't have my computer. I would go down to a little pastry shop that had Wi-Fi and look at my pictures and wouldn't spend a lot of time on them. Maybe put one up. But what I wanted was just, I wanted to, certainly in a vacuum when you're dealing with the ocean and when you're dealing with the wildlife refuge with all the different wildlife and the gators and the bugs and the birds and everything, it's like, it's not a vacuum. But I wanted to immerse myself in that. And I wanted to be that important. And I don't think I even drank a beer during that time. I was bed early, about 8:30 every night. I just wanted to be that.
That's cool.
And do that. Because I knew it would help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and diving into something, no pun intended, because you're around water, but when you want to be somewhere and you put yourself completely in it, I mean, you learn things about the culture and the area that you wouldn't if you were just kind of sightseeing and overview looking at it, Well,
I was very lucky to have to have my cousins give me this place to stay. That was wonderful.
Cool. That's really cool.
I love the Black Hills and I love it here, but I do miss the ocean. Yeah. So having the ocean for a month, and no matter what temperature or wind or sun or rain it presented that day, it was just like, I really liked it. Man,
I've only seen the ocean a few times, and the first time I ever really got into the ocean was just this year, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
That's one of my favorite things to do, and I'm hoping to find that this winter. Yeah. At Orcas, I'll have that a little bit because it's an island, obviously. Sure. Won't have surf or anything. It'll be a different kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to drive down the coast of California, and I'll drive down the 101 or
cool.
1A, whatever it's
Yeah.
called. And I have some friends I'll stop and visit, and then I'm going to end up at Del Mar, which is a beautiful little ocean town about 20 miles above San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And my aunt lives there. And I will go visit my aunt for Christmas, and then her 100th birthday is on January 5th.
That's awesome, dude.
And if I can't find a song there, I don't know where I'll find one.
Yeah, there's one hiding. There's got to be one hiding. Sounds
So
like
I'm
it.
going to do that, and then from there, I'm still kind of narrowing it down to Yucatan Peninsula, Costa Rica, Chile, Ecuador, or possibly Portugal or Spain.
Ooh.
But I
Spain would be cool.
I want to go find that beach again to walk for 3 weeks or a month.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back up here around middle of February and I'll go back to work.
Yeah, well, it's good you're coming back because... So, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but you've been a staple of, as far as musicians go in South Dakota for quite a long time. And you were, I believe, at least from my memory, the first musician I ever saw, like in South Dakota when I moved up here.
Oh, where'd you move up here from?
So I came here from Nebraska.
Okay.
I grew up in a super small town. Then I went to college in Omaha and came here. But I was out on a date one night. This was a long time ago. And by long, I'm meaning at least like 6 or 7 years.
Probably more than that.
Right, it might have been.
If it would have been over at Flanagan's anyway.
So it was way before that, even before I started playing music. I was on a date in Rapid City. We were at Thirsty's. And we were out on the patio. And we were sitting there, and you were playing, and you had this analog clock sitting on your amp. Just kind of, sitting there, and I'm assuming now that it's just kind of how you were telling when you would take your breaks or how long you need to stop and that. And my date concocted this whole story in her head that you were just this traveling nomad that played guitar, and that was how you told time. And you just put it all in your car and moved on down the road. And she had this, pretty elaborate story.
That's nice.
And I was like, oh, like that. I guess that'd be kind of cool. It's possible. I didn't think anything of it. And then years later, I saw you at Flanagan's. I go, that's that guy. He's not a nomad at all.
Well, you kind of are a nomad,
I guess,
though.
yeah. But it made me laugh. I was like, oh, wow. And it is kind of funny, though, when you get up there to play, like, people can create whole stories in their head about who you are, just from what you got around you. It was an analog clock. And before we knew it, you were this world traveler that played music and lived out of your car,
There we go. How romantic.
Yeah. But then I saw you a few years ago at Flans, and then I realized, oh, okay. And it took me a while to remember that was you. I was like, oh, that was totally Hank. And I didn't even know you.
I remember when I first met you over at Flanagan's, too.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, play another Beatles song, man.
Oh, I love the Beatles,
You love
man.
the Beatles. And
I grew up with them.
I was like, okay, that kid's all right.
Yep, that's right. I will always be a Beatles fan, and my daughters are Beatles fans. They know when their songs come on, and that means I know I'm doing something right as a parent.
There you go.
So, but have you seen? So you've been, as long as you've been playing around the area here, have you seen does music around the area kind of go in waves, or have you seen it like progress more and more, where there's just more artists, more musicians, and more places wanting music? I heard like a while ago, like Rapid City was like super booming for music, and then there was a kind of a drop, and I don't know if you've seen any trends or stuff that...
Well, there are trends as far as one place will be good, hot for a while, and then it'll drop off. And
Okay.
Another one will pop up. But what seems to have been happening in the last 10 years is that the places to play have, if you're a band, they've gone down by 75%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what people can afford to do now, whether it be restaurants or littler pubs, is to have singles or duos.
Mm-hmm.
But those aren't there aren't many of those either.
Right.
And it's one thing to play if you feel just you want to play, and if you have your family and you're working and you want to play on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been doing this to make my living, so
Yeah.
I look at it a little differently.
Yeah.
So that job that somebody's going to pay for $50 a night somewhere, to me, is just like, well, that pays the gas and a meal.
Right.
That isn't really doing anything.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to seem like a snob about that, but it's just like, this is what I do. This is what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to find those gigs now it gets harder and harder.
Well,
and
like
it gets harder and harder each year for me too, in that there's always going to be younger musicians coming along.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a place where the main clientele is 20 to 35, they want to hear people that are 20 to 35 playing.
Sure.
For them.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people, like, if you want to hire a $50 musician, you can find one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're going to get, and you might get lucky, and there might be someone who's brand new at it and is really good,
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Like
And you kind of have to make that choice early on too. It's like, what's more important here, the music or the party?
right. Yeah. That's a problem I think every venue wrestles with and struggles with, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I feel like there's a lot more artists that want to play, but South Dakota I feel like it's, maybe I'm just kind of blind to it, but I feel like there's certain places that pick up, and then there's certain places that it kind of failed down. And someone that's been here for a long time, like you have, talking to musicians, people that like someone that wants to do what you do. I want to play music for a living.
Right.
How do you do that in South Dakota, man?
Well, and I'm dealing with a certain amount of ageism.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I'm dealing with a certain amount of I used to play at a place down in Rapid City, and I played there quite a while, and I could still be playing there, I think.
Uh-huh.
But after a while, I went, I don't fit here anymore. I'm not playing what they want to hear, and I don't want to play what they want to hear.
Sure.
So, you can whine or you can complain about it, but you just have to go, it's like, this is life, and it's like, it's my choice whether I want to play here or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So certain places I've just had to walk away.
Hmm.
And then luckily, I did the project with the Adams Museum about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Where I did 2 CDs for them of the music that went through Deadwood about 1875 to 1910. That was a lot of research. And then my boss there, Mary Kopko, was great. She let me do what I wanted to do.
That's cool.
And their researchers helped me when I didn't know what to do. That was great. And through doing that, because it was with the Adams Museum, and she was so sharp with media, that translated into a certain amount of press and a certain amount of visibility through South Dakota Public Broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up making an 1.5-hour TV show of the concert up at the Lead Opera House.
Oh, sweet.
And all those things helped, and they raise your visibility. And then you can start maybe moving to different places instead of playing this bar. Maybe I can play in the Lead Opera House, or maybe I can play the Matthews, or maybe I can play a little opera house in Parkinson or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Parkston, excuse me. So, you start to see other opportunities. And then while I was doing that, I was kind of goaded by the people at the Adams to apply for a grant from the South Dakota Arts Council, touring artists, where they will match funds with you up to a certain point when you go play those gigs that are for nonprofits.
Oh, cool.
So maybe I could go play down at Hill City for a show.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they would pay $500. Well, then the state would pay me that too.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a lot of times I would do that with my old friend Ricky Jacobson or Kenny Putnam or other people too. So we'd split the money.
Yeah.
But so it was just like, wow, I'm getting to play in a place where people are actually going to listen here.
Yeah.
So often at a bar, as we both know, drinking, meeting somebody, getting in a fight, whatever. Sometimes we're number 5 or 6 down the list of why they're really there, or playing cribbage or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So getting in that position where you're playing for people who've come to see you and want to hear what you're going to say, what stories you're going to tell, and what songs you're going to sing with them, whether that be the old Deadwood songs or whether that be my own songs. So different things try to open up, and then you have to learn how to manage that and decide whether you want to be your own manager or whether you want to hire somebody to do all that footwork for you.
Mm-hmm.
Getting together your own bios and info and pictures and
so
demos
hard,
and
so
and
hard.
talking somebody into doing this.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and some of it can be very tedious and very unfun.
Yeah.
Making those cold calls can be hard.
It can be, but I mean, you hit it right on the head. You know, when you're at a place where the crowd is there for you and they're paying attention, listening to you, it's a whole different feel. Like you feel like you're doing something of value,
Right.
You know,
Right, and also you feel like you're getting to play your best stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, because when you play at a bar and everyone's doing their own thing.
I'm playing another version of some song that everybody plays. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
you need to a lot of times at those places, and it's isn't meant to be facetious, but it's just being practical. It's like sometimes people in those situations need the equivalent of comfort food.
Sure.
They need, I know that.
Yeah.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
I can deal with that.
Absolutely. Well, and just getting that.
And plus, you want to get hired back.
Oh, tell me about it. There's a few places, man. There's a few. Well, and like I was saying, you get the sense of, if I'm just here and no one's paying attention, it's basically I'm getting paid to sit here and practice, which isn't bad either, you know. And you can work on some stuff, and because no one's listening, but it's a whole different game when people are watching and listening to you. I did want to ask you about that Deadwood songbook, though, because there's 2 volumes, right? You put 2 volumes out.
We did one, and then they decided they'd like me to do a
They liked
second.
it so much. And
Yeah.
And was it just researching the type of songs that people were playing back when Deadwood was founded, or was it kind of a...
I know when I started, I thought, well, one, I don't know how to do this. Even though one of the first bands I played in,
What am I
in
doing?
Vermilion, South Dakota, was with 2 other guys. We were called the Lonesome Prairie Playboys.
Oh, good name.
And these guys loved that old-timey stuff.
Yeah, the cowboy music.
So that cowboy music and early bluegrass, and
sweet.
back to Gid Tanner and the Skillet Lickers and all kinds of early stuff.
Wow.
Jimmy Rogers, really old stuff. And so I did that for a year and a half with those guys. And then when the Deadwood Project came around, it was just like this whole circle had come back around. It's like, well, this is what I was learning how to do back then.
Wow.
So that was interesting. But at first I thought it was going to be a bunch of cowboy songs.
Yeah.
And then looking at Deadwood at that time period, 100 different countries were represented there.
God, that's true.
Gold.
I guess you always forget about that.
Gold
Yeah.
was universal. So people from all over the world were coming there, and they were bringing their music with them.
Of course.
And it wasn't about hit parades or the newest hot song on the radio. It was like their history.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought was going to be a fairly limited path or tunnel of cowboy songs became basically the history of world music to that point.
Oh, that's
So my
amazing.
palette totally expanded.
Yeah.
So I could go, and then I could trace things. Like there was a song called The Girl I Left Behind Me. Well, that came about from 1700s, British using conscripts from Ireland and Scotland and their conquered places to do their fighting for them. So they're fighting in Spain and in France, and it's like they're talking about that. And then that comes over on the boat and goes through Appalachia and becomes The Girl I Left Behind Me. And the lyrics change. Then it gets out west and it becomes The Gal I Left Behind Me. And we hit the trail in 79 with the herd strung out behind me while they were talking about the girls in France and Spain 100 years before. So you get to see the evolution of these songs, how these things are passed along. And this guy adds this verse. This guy adds this verse. He forgets this verse.
Oh, man.
I did John Henry, that song, and I thought, well, John Henry, everybody knows that. I stopped at 90 verses on my research and went, I need to pick 8 or 9 good verses here that tell the
90
story.
verses.
I stopped.
Oh, my goodness.
I stopped because everybody
had no
had their
idea.
own take on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've only know 3 verses to that song.
Yeah,
we sang it in elementary school. You know?
Right. Back when they
Wow.
so it was just like, well, this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is cool to see a song that transcends like centuries like that. You know,
Yeah.
it just keeps going and going,
Yeah.
and it adapts and morphs, and it's almost like the song takes on a life of its own for wherever it's found.
Right.
You know, it puts on a whole new set of clothes and has new life. And
Yeah, and when I did the first CD, my boss said, "I just trust you, Hank. You do what you want." Which, who doesn't want a boss like that?
oh, that's the dream, Hank.
Yeah. And then she said, "I think we should do another one, Hank, but I'm going to have some requests for you here. Things I want you to fulfill for me." And I was like, "Okay." She says, "I want the Jewish population in Deadwood represented.
Mm-hmm.
I want the Native American population represented.
Mm-hmm.
What was the third one? And the Chinese.
Oh, sure.
Those are all important parts of that community." So the Jewish end of it, I ended up researching klezmer music from Eastern and Western Europe and the wandering Jewish musicians over there and finding kind of what that was. And me and Ricky and Kenny, we could pull that one off.
Mm-hmm.
We could pull that one off. The Chinese, I wasn't going to pull that off,
Yeah, that'd be a little bit difficult.
So luckily, through Mary Kopko up at the Adams Museum, she turned me on to a woman named Gao Hung, who teaches up at, what is the name of the college? Carleton College up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Has a huge Chinese and Asian music program up there and is world renowned.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
And she plays something called a Chinese pipa, which is a form of a Chinese, kind of like between a lute and a mandolin, but an amazing instrument. And she was amazing. And I called her and told her about my little project, And she says, "Oh yeah, I played for Mary before. I really like her. And why don't I send you some stuff?" So she sent me stuff, and she makes albums with like jazz people and classical people and does all kinds of things. But she sent me one song that she had done with her music teacher, a guy named Lin Cha-chung, who was the master of the pipa in China. And when she was just a young girl, Gal, she had shows promise, so they sent her off to prodigy school in Beijing. She was from the country.
Wow.
And she's the only one he ever ended up recording with or playing with on stage. So she's kind of the one.
That's unbelievable.
And that I should be able to bump into her and talk to her and say, "Can you help out with this little project?" So she sent this song down, and it was just gorgeous. Geese landing on a I forget what it was called. Excuse me. But it was this beautiful song.
Yeah.
And totally foreign and strange and alien to my ears, but I just loved it.
Wow.
So I was able to fulfill that part of her thing. And then the Native American one, I was like, I'm not going to be able to pull this off either.
Yeah.
So luckily, my friend Jay Roman down in Rapid City, who's worked at Lakota Oglala College, teaching media out there, and has worked on the res a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Well, I know this guy, Wilmer Mesteth. He's a medicine man. Let's go see him." And we went and did a field recording of Wilmer.
Oh, he's got some songs, you know that.
And he played a 250-year-old Buffalo Hunt song for us.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm just like, this is great.
That is so cool.
So that was so fun to do that second one where I wasn't just the musician. I got to be kind of like a little producer guy.
Yeah. Well, and you get these two volumes really that are recording in music form, a part of history.
Right.
That, that's always going to be around. I think that's super cool.
And when I first started researching it, I went to a lot of spots online that were way into this preservationist stuff. And I found their approach for the most part to be pretty stodgy. And they were all singing like Gabby Hayes, and they were trying to be exactly like what they thought it would be. And it's like, of course, there's no recordings.
Right.
And I just said, whoever the musicians were back then, they were trying to be as hip as they could.
Right.
And they certainly hadn't heard of Gabby Hayes. I went to the it's like they weren't singing like that.
Yeah.
So I tried to kind of do it my own way again, but also think in terms of what they had to work with. So,
what was it like finishing that? Just the amount of research and effort and then getting it done and saying, hey, here it is.
It was
that
great.
just like,
It was great.
oof,
And it was a whole new,
massive accomplishment.
thing, and it was kind of funny and kind of embarrassing and kind of weird because all those years I'd been playing in different bands and being somewhat well known around the state. But to the people in the museums and the opera houses and the different places like that, all of a sudden now I had validity. All of a sudden now I was a musical archivist.
Right.
I was a musicologist.
You can just throw that card down and get
And
a
I'm
gig
like,
anywhere you want.
I'm the same guy I've always been.
I still want to play the Beatles
So
whenever I go
it
somewhere.
was just funny to me. It's like you get a certain cachet of credibility through somebody else's idea of what they think is credibility.
Well, because it's the level of someone looking at that, the finished product, they realize there's no, I couldn't do that. And there's this level of they recognize the effort and time that it took to make. And they, okay, this guy's serious.
But to me, it was just like, you're going to pay me to do this? This is great fun.
This is awesome.
And it was also, it's like I didn't have to go play in a bar every night.
Yeah.
I got to work on this. I kept working, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't stop. But
That's
it was
cool.
it was just it was a lucky project.
And those are both online, or are they only in CD form? Like, can you download those?
They're at my HankHarrisMusic.com. They're
Okay.
online there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't see them on Spotify, but they're up on your website then. And then, how many albums do you have? Like, up and out? Because I saw quite a few.
There's at least 6 or 7 on there.
Okay.
And then there were yeah, and then these 2 new ones I've done in this last year, or they've come out in this last year. Probably about 6 or 7 of my own stuff, and then, and then the 2 Deadwood songbooks, and then before that, I made albums and cassettes.
Jeez, that's fantastic.
So
A Hank Harris cassette. I'm
I know.
gonna see if I can find one of those at a store somewhere.
They're not real common. And that's, once again, it's like if I listened to it now, I would pick it apart and go, well, that's a pretty good song, or that's not a very good song, or it's like, well, I played it well. Oh, that was poorly recorded, whatever it might be. It's part of the trail.
Yeah, that's where it was at the time, and now it's changed and gone a little bit. Well, cool, Hank. This was fun. I enjoyed this. I'm really excited about the you just put out an album 3 months ago. The Deadwood
That's
album.
called Tiny Person.
Yeah.
And that one is that one took a while, but it's different. I really attacked some different subject matter on that. Tiny Person is about Syrian refugees crossing the ocean.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a lot of different subject matter on that. It's not about girls and cars anymore.
You've changed a little bit.
Well,
yeah, and that's a
change.
deep subject. That some issues like that, I think, music is the best way to express them. Like let's sing this out. Let's get poets. Let's get musicians in here and get the feeling across. You know what I mean? And
Well, I read something about, it was a couple years ago, maybe not quite that long, just saying that, with what's going on politically now and population pushing people around and different wars, pushing people out of countries and making them migrate to other countries. It's like, and when people are doing bad things, and I think there are people doing bad things in high places now, it happens every day on the news. It's like, you can either hide or you can step it up. Just it's time for us to step it up.
sure.
We will be identified. And
Yeah.
hopefully there won't be a point to where it will actually, somebody can try to stifle that message. But that's the material that's out there now. That's not saying that walking for a month on a beach isn't the same material,
Right.
But it's there are certain things happening now that need to be addressed, I think.
Yeah, and it's just a plethora of inspiration for musicians to and while we're free to do it.
And I know some people will struggle with this new CD. Some people just go, well, is it just pretty all the time? And it's just like, well, life isn't all pretty all the time.
Yeah, it's got dark moments.
It's got some dark stuff, and there's hope, of course. But once again, I just don't try to aim the material anymore. I want to explore this. I want to see where this leads to.
Sure. That's cool, man. That's awesome. I dig it. Thanks for coming to the Heath Bar.
Hey, man.
I appreciate you being on, man. This was cool.
Well,
like I said, my first South Dakota musician I ever actually saw when I moved up here, and here we are chatting. It's great.
It's easy. You were the Beatle guy.
I was the Beatle guy.
And then all of a sudden you were doing gigs, and I'm going, hey, look, he's out there playing now.
You inspired me. I was like, hey, I could play the Beatles at home. And
I knew one of your friends that probably helped you a little, Jason Gus Miller.
Oh, yeah. He basically...
And somebody there to help and somebody there to encourage, it's important.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have been doing all that had I not met him. He did a lot. He did a lot. That was cool. But thanks again, man.
Thank you.
This was sweet.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again, everyone, for hanging out at the Heath Bar this week. Really glad you chose to stop by. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with me, my email is heath@heathbaronline.com, or you can hunt me down on Instagram, same as the email, heathbaronline. Shoot those emails my way, shoot me a message on Instagram, leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast at. I'd love to hear from you guys. I hope to talk to you soon. We'll see you next time.